Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday here in Pittsburgh. About 9:45 a.m. I'm out here doing my trips. I have a bill that has to be paid, and I'm just kind of like disappointed that it hasn't been paid yet. Because I put in, I'm over my 30 trip mark. Now their money is in there, but I have a bill of $647 that needs to be paid, and I don't understand why I need so many trips to get it done. Now, this is my third week doing the Uber rental, as well as doing this full time. Let me say that again. This is my third week of doing this full time and doing the rental. This is, when I did this before, I did it part time and I did it with my own vehicle. Now, right off the top, I kind of like doing it with their vehicle. I'm gonna be honest with you, because some of the places they've had me go pick people up, like I went on some dirt roads to pick people up, some icy roads that you really can't, they're people's private property. So if the people that live there don't make sure that the property, I went to a place just yesterday, I think it was, way out in the back roads of Butler, Pennsylvania, and I took this kid up there to meet his friends, and it was a long trip. It was a 40-minute trip, I think, 30 or 40-minute trip, and I took him up there, and when we got to the driveway, he didn't tell me. He didn't tell me that I was going to have to go through all that when I got to the driveway. So when I got to the driveway, I had to go through this like maze all the way up to the house. The house was just a little thing. It was a 2-floor box in the middle of nowhere. And reception was, even Uber had reception up there. It had reception problems up there. Like, my Uber app worked, but there was no voice. The audio went out, the minute I got up there and the minute I got halfway down. It wasn't until I got almost to the main drag that everything connected back. But and not just the voice, but the Uber app kind of went on a freeze up in there. And they'll have you do these trips. They'll have you do these trips where they know that there's not a surge out there. They know that you may lose reception up there and not be able to get the customer the rest of the way. The customer's going to have to help you out. These are cons of working for Uber. You might get out there and the customer has to help you get to his house. Thank God, in a place like that, you're taking the customer, Another place I was taking to do way out there, I was way out in Scottsdale. That's even more country than way up there in the back roads of Butler. And this kid didn't know where he was going. He went to a place, and we rode around. The Uber app really messed up on the trip because there was no left turn. They said left turn, but on the app itself, they didn't show the left turn. And so, do we turn this left, this left, this left? There's like 3 of them over there. So we ended up going right, turning around and trying to go to the left from the flat street, from the straight street, instead of the Y. And when we did that, it put us on the right road. Then we get out there, and it's like he doesn't know where it's at. And the app is not showing a parking lot. It's just saying, oh, drop him off on the right. And he's like, well, that's not it. And I'm like, okay. So we ride around, and he says, "Oh, I think it's out over there." I'm like, "I'm going to take him over there," but no, he wants to walk. You're going to get that a lot, where people will have you drop somewhere off, and you're going to get that a lot, where people will have you drop them off somewhere at an address, and then the address may be Uber, but that's not where they're going. They're going to walk a mile up the street. One dude, I kept riding around. We lost the address, and he was like, okay, well, what I was going to do was I was just going to get off anywhere, because he didn't understand where I was taking him. Now, the Uber gave me an address, but it wasn't the address he was expecting. It's weird, So he said, well, I'll be honest with you, sir. I was just going to get off anywhere and walk into town. I'm thinking, why can't I just drive you into town? Town was right up the street, but he wanted to, it's... Don't ask me. I don't know why people are like that. If it's cold out here, if I'm going somewhere, I'm going to tell you exactly where I'm going. That's where you're going to drop me off at. That's where you're going to pick me up at. Okay. So those are some of the cons of working for Uber. Uber gives you a lot of, they blame cancellations on you, when a lot of times the customer is just impatient. And if I'm doing a 30-minute trip and I got like 10-15 minutes to go to get this person to their destination, why would you give me another trip where I'm going to have to drive 12 to 15 minutes to get to that person? Why would you give me a trip like that? And a lot of those trips get canceled. Okay, because people realize that, oh, he's doing another trip. Yeah, the Uber app is letting you know that, but to be safe, it's going to take me 20 minutes to get to you, bro. It's going to take me 20 minutes to get there. And so, so like yesterday, I've had probably about 2 cancellations because they did that twice. Now, they didn't come to me and complain about the cancellations, but sometimes they do, and I'm thinking, that's your fault. Why would you know what I'm saying? Why would you, first of all, take me the long way when all we had to do was go right back across the bridge, number one. And number two, why would you give me a trip where I got, anywhere from 18 minutes to 10 minutes to get this person home, and then when I navigate to the next trip, it's going to take me 18 minutes to get to her? Like, why would you do that? You should be patient and tell the what do you call them? Tell the client, hey, please try back in 5 minutes. Try back in 10 minutes. Or let them know on the app that the nearest person out, the nearest person coming in is going to be, it's going to be 20 minutes to wait or whatever. They don't want to tell you that because they feel that they're going to lose money. And I've had people get in the car and say, wow, I was wondering where you was at. I says, well, the Uber app, I was on another trip. And that trip was like, when they sent me the trip information for the next trip, I said, sir, it was like I had like 15 minutes left to go on the trip. And then when I clicked on your trip, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, okay, it's going to take me almost 20 minutes to get to him. So I said, hey, I was way out in Butler. Way up in the farmlands, brother. I was in Butler. I was way up in the farmlands. They sent me here all the way from Butler. He said, from Butler? I said, yeah. And when I got halfway in, they sent me yours. I still had halfway to go. I wasn't even fully in Butler yet, or in Scottsdale or wherever we was at, And so, those are some of the cons. Sometimes the Uber app And the Uber app is another con. Like I said, sometimes the Uber app is just is confused about Pittsburgh as much as I am. And the Uber app has almost caused me to get killed, okay? Because, I'm in a lane, and then you want to wait till we get up there to tell me I got to get in the right lane when I'm in the straight lane. And you're saying, oh, just up ahead, such and such and such. And then it's like, get into your right lane to stay on such and such and such. And I'm looking at that, I'm listening to her, and I'm looking at the picture, and it looks like I have to go like another, 2,000 feet or more before no, you want me to get in the right lane that quick, and there's cars everywhere. And in Pittsburgh, that's a no-no. That's just crazy. Like in Pittsburgh, you got to know your lanes. And I found out that I like bringing people to Pittsburgh more than I like taking people out of Pittsburgh, because oh my God. Because if I'm bringing people into Pittsburgh, there's less I have to go through to get them into Pittsburgh. But if I'm taking them out of Pittsburgh, then it's like I got all these ramps and bridges and all this stuff to go to. And you can get used to it. I mean, if you're living in a big city, if you're an Uber person and you're living in a big city like Pittsburgh, anything like Pittsburgh, and you got ramps and bridges everywhere just overlapping each other, you probably understand what I'm talking about. You understand, and you get used to it. Like if you spend time driving in Pittsburgh, which I don't spend enough time driving in Pittsburgh, I'm always trying to escape. I can go back to my old hometown and I pretty much know where I'm going out there, until they ask me to do a trip from there all the way to Butler, because I'm in Westmoreland County. So they'll send me all the way to Butler or Scottsdale or send me to Greensburg, And I couldn't believe it. A lot of these trips are at night. And I don't mind these trips, but I would prefer you put me on an expressway and let me ride the expressway all the way in. Don't take these back roads, okay, where I can't see where I'm going, and all I see is deer jumping out at me everywhere. You know what I mean? That gets to me. Like, why are you taking the longest way out? Why don't we just get on the expressway and take the expressway to Greensburg, or take the expressway? Why are you're going to wait till the end of the trip to put me on the expressway? But when we're having, and you're doing this at night, or you're doing this early in the morning when it's still dark out, but during rush hour, you want to put me on the expressway. I don't get that. At rush hour, they will always make you get in traffic, and the customer's just in the back seat throwing up their hands like they couldn't find another way to go than this. And I'm thinking, yeah, why would they go this way? And they're looking at me like, oh, I'm driving. Hey, I know my neighborhood. Okay, I know, Now, one of the things about me is, when I had my own car and I did this, I would drive clear out. I don't like to drive, since that's the fun thing about Uber, especially when you got your own vehicle. Like, that's the fun thing. Like, if you don't like driving in Pittsburgh, you don't have to drive in Pittsburgh. You don't have to drive anywhere near Pittsburgh. Anywhere you go and you get trips, they appreciate it. And I'm telling you, when I go to Greensburg, when I go to anywhere up in Westmoreland County, sometimes I'm the only one up there, because all the people that work Uber in my old home part of town, they're all part-timers. They only do this for a few days. None of them, like, you can live up there and drive 30 minutes into Pittsburgh easily every day and make money in both places. Make money in New Kensington, and I'm making I've made a bunch of money in New Kensington over the last 2 weeks. Made a bunch of money in New Kensington. And I went out there and spent some time with my daughter just the other day and still made a bunch of money. Okay? The problem is me making this bunch of money and having to keep putting gas in the car. Me making this bunch of money and having to feed myself, stop at the store and buy things that I need for the house, for my own eating at home and all this kind of stuff. You know, I'm not getting my bills paid, you know. Now, I disagree with people who say don't eat out. You know, yesterday I went to Butler for them. No, I went to Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania for them yesterday. All the way from Pittsburgh. They sent me on a trip to Beaver Falls. It was a good, I think they paid me $30-some to take this person to Beaver Falls. And if I'm making over $100 a day, I'm happy. But over $100 a day is not getting my bills paid. You know what I'm saying? You got to be out here for, you know, and I was out for the last 2 nights. I've been out here for like, if not 8 hours, I've been out here for like 6 hours. But see, one thing you got to be careful about is how much of that 6 to 8 hours is travel time. Because if you're traveling 30 minutes here, 40 minutes here, an hour there, and then you got to take an hour to get back because you ain't getting no trips out there where they sent you. You just doing a drop off. Now you need to get back into your favorite part of town in order to do trips. That's going to take you an hour and some minutes, even on the expressway and driving on the expressway with hardly no traffic. That's going to take you an hour and some minutes altogether. So, you know, that gets in the way of your 8 hours or your 6 hours or whatever you're doing of drive time, of trip time, you know. That gets in the way. And that's another con. It's a con, though, that there's nothing I can do about that because I don't really want... It ain't no fun doing Uber if I stay in one spot and deal with, you know what I mean? And in Pittsburgh, people are rude and ignorant, and they think they're entitled. And, excuse my French, a lot of the brothers and sisters have like really disappointed me here in Pittsburgh. These people, okay, here in Pittsburgh, the white people out here are nice, but the brown skinned people, these people, mainly these people, they get on my nerves, and I can't stand, you know, I'm driving down the road and I click on, you know, a trip, and I look at the app, and it's like I can look at the name and tell this person's probably black, and in most cases they were. And it's like they get my car with this attitude, you know, where white people, you know, they speak, they make the trip comfortable by talking to you and asking you questions and stuff like that. This is another con, you know, that you're going to go through. You know what I'm saying? And black people treat black people rude. I'm just telling you. You know, I've had one I just came, and now here's a pro. I just came back from Altoona. I already took me a vacation. I only been doing this for 3 weeks, and I took a 1-day vacation. I went to Altoona, Pennsylvania, because Uber had me do a long trip, and while I was up there, I did another trip, and they had me way out, far away from Pittsburgh. So I said, you know what? When I looked in the map, Altoona was only 2-point-some hours from where I was at, whereas from my house, Altoona is like almost, you know, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Well, it was only about like 2 hours and 5 minutes from the location I was at. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go to Altoona because I know I'll get trips out there. So one of the pros to me, to you it might be con, but this is a pro to me. if you like your state like I do, you can travel anywhere in your state as far as I know. Unlimited mileage, that means you can travel anywhere in your state and you can do trips. What they're going to do to you when they realize, what's he doing way out in Altoona? Now, it was weird. While I was in Altoona, they never asked once for me to verify myself by taking a photo. But I can go 30 minutes away from here and they'll ask me to verify myself to make sure I am who I am, to make sure that nobody steal this vehicle or anything. You know what I mean? But I went to Altoona, 2 hours and some minutes away. Not once did they ask me to verify myself. I'm lost, you know. Now, when I went about another 30 minutes from there, because I picked up these two Spanish girls who spoke no English whatsoever. I couldn't even ask them where they were going. They spoke no English. I'm glad I was the driver instead of the person being driven, okay? They spoke no English. They didn't even know yes and no and what is this place. I'm trying to ask them, what is this place I just picked them up at? Which way do I go? All they could do was point. They okay. So, you know, I took them to a place called Duncansville, which is probably about 30 minutes outside of Altoona. And Duncansville is like a trucking neighborhood. It's almost like Neville Island here in Pittsburgh. Neville Island, though, is actually an island. You're on an island. But this was just a big shipping neighborhood. You know, trucks everywhere. And I took them out there, and the Uber app didn't know, another con, and it does this everywhere. Now, I had the best fun working for Uber in Altoona. And there might have been one trip where the Uber app is telling you, first of all, to drop the person on the left. Well, if you drop the person off on the left, okay, and you're driving right, and you're dropping the person off on the left, your car is pointed this way, traffic is coming this way. That's illegal in most places. In some of these ghetto-fied neighborhoods, the police don't care. I have been given tickets for doing this. Number two, a lot of times the Uber app will tell you to pull over to the left. Drop Teresa on the left. Okay, which one of these parking lots are we going into? All you see is that little blue ball. It looks like a stop button. Okay, looks like an internet stop button, you know, a stop button. All you see is that stop button. And you're supposed to pull in there and, but they're not showing. You're just saying drop this person off on the left. Every time they do that, I go right up to that little blue stop button. I pull in to whatever lot is closest to that. And what's the customer tell me? Oh, it's in that lot, or it's in that lot. Another con. Okay. And that's something that I get sick of. It gets on my nerves. When Uber app does that, when they got me driving somewhere and they say drop the person off on the left, and it's got this blue stop button way over here. Drop them on the left where? And the customers are usually nice about that, though. That's the pro. The customers that are used to taking Uber to work or whatever, they know. They laugh at that. They say, it's okay, man. Like, you know, Uber don't know. Uber has always had a problem. Now, when I was in Altoona, when I went into a parking lot, here's another con. When I was in Altoona, when I went into a parking lot, Uber knew I was in a parking lot. They would direct me how to get out of the parking lot. But right here in Pittsburgh, where I live, most parking lots, they do not know that you're in a parking lot. And so they tell you, oh, get back, go, continue your trip on such and such a road. Lady, I'm in a parking lot. Do I go right to continue the trip? Or do I go left? I go out, okay, I'm going to go out the way I came in. A lot of times, no. Don't go out the way you came in. Now, a lot of times I can ask the customer, and the customer is like, I think you better go that way. Okay. And then, you know. The other thing is, a lot of times coming out of a parking lot, it takes time for the Uber app to catch up. This is a brand new Android phone, Motorola, okay, 2025. Brand new, brand spanking new. Just came out for 2025, okay? Well, just came out the beginning of this year for 2025. Then this phone is, you know, 5Gs, all the good stuff. It's a really, really nice phone that I'm recording this on. And this is what I do. And I bought this for my Uber app, okay? Because this phone here that I'm playing my music off of, Bluetooth to my stereo here in the car, this is the Rebel 5G, and it's a very old phone, and it runs into trouble every now and then when you're trying to download your emails and sites and stuff like that, because what am I trying to say here? They run into a problem. It runs into a problem because it's an older phone. It's about 2 years old. And I'm just like, I'm hurt by that because it's a lovely phone. But it freezed up on me. I had switched apps, tested out, and it did freeze up on me like it freezed up on me about a year or two ago when I was doing Uber. And it was doing that when it was up to date. It was freezing up and overheating while I was doing Uber. So I had bought a new phone then, and I knew I needed to buy a new phone. If I'm gonna do Uber, I'm gonna have to buy a new phone now. Okay. But again, when I was in Altoona, the app knew how to get me out of a parking lot. Here in Pittsburgh, it don't know how to get you out of a parking lot. You got to find your own way out of the parking lot, and then you got to turn around and get yourself. You don't remember whether you don't, why, how do you know whether you're going west? You're picking the person up and taking them to a different location than the location that you picked them up at. So how do you know whether you're going west or east, north or south? They expect you to know that. How do you know? Unless you ask the customer, are we going west, east? There's always, 2 to 4 ways out of the parking lot. So which street are we getting on? There's the front street, and then there's these 2 streets. Four ways out of the parking lot, And the Uber app, every single time they don't know, that they don't recognize that I'm in a parking lot, what happens is I get out on the wrong side of the parking lot, and I tell the customer I'm waiting for her to catch up. And I have to wait for her to catch up. And she'll wait till I get down to the light, which is almost a mile down the street, before she catches up. Then she catches up. And I got to turn around and go that way now. Everything is about getting me to go that way. And that's a thing, I get tired. I get so sick and tired of that. It's like 5 minutes of trip time wasted when they do that, I just wish they would, like they do in Altoona, direct me out of the parking lot so that I'm on the right place. But so many places, and it ain't just the Uber app, it's also Google, and it's also Waze too. A lot of times they just don't, for some reason, certain parking lots, they don't even connect that you have a parking lot. Another con is alleyways. And if you've been through any of this, let me know in the comment section. Alleyways. They don't know that you're going through an alleyway. And a lot of times when a customer sees that the Uber app is taking me straight through about 6 alleyways, he'll say, hold up, man. Hold up. Like, you can make a right and go down the hill and go left. I'm like, okay. Because the trip is only the trip is like 6 minutes long. So I'm figuring after 6 alleyways, and I don't want to go down the hill or up the hill, and then I'm far away from, I'm making the trip take longer. So I just do what Uber tells me to do, and I'm going through these bumpy potholes everywhere, rocks in the middle, big rocks in the middle of the alleyway, you name it, ice and sleet, they don't salt that stuff, ice and sleet in the alleyway. I'm riding through there, and and he's like, the customer usually tells me, so that, that's a good thing. The customer can usually tell me that I don't have to take six to 10 alleyways to get them to their address, but if they don't know where they're going, I got to go through 6 alleyways because I don't know where I'm going. I only know what Uber is giving me. I don't live out there, you know what I mean? So, but praise be to God. Those are the cons. If you know what's going to happen to me after my 7 weeks, let me know. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I've done 3 weeks, and every time they take out their money, they congratulate me. I get a thank you email from Hertz where they tell me that they tell me I get this thank you letter from a thank you email from Hertz. I don't know why they can't use my new email address. They keep using my old email address, which I don't like using that because it's tied to social media and people be all up in my business. And I had that problem with Uber before. I have a new email that I use strictly for stuff like Uber. I wish Hertz would get on board with that too, but Hertz refuses to use. I got Hertz on one email and Uber on the new email. I'm gonna have to I can respond to Hertz and tell them please use this email address, I think, hopefully. But anyway, I get a letter from them, an email, thanking me and letting me know that I have been safely moved into the next week. I also got an email from them, and you can talk to me about this if you're Uber. You can talk to me. You can talk to me about this too. This car, I've had to put air in it, air in this right tire. This right tire has drastically went down like 3 times. Okay, now the first time I did it, I had to do it, and it went over a week, without any air problems. I don't know if it's a slow leak, which if it is, that needs to be fixed immediately, or if it's something still working itself out, because they had this car sitting, I could tell. Like when I first picked up this car, both these front tires needed air in them drastically. And so before I even made it out of North Hills, I stopped at a Gitco and put air in both these tires before I even made it home. But this car was sitting out in the cold for days, maybe a couple weeks before, I drove off with it. I also feel like the brakes need to be checked. There's no signs in the car. Now this car is totally secure with warnings for everything. Tires, brakes, battery, you name it. If you push on the brake to stop too fast, there's a warning sign for that. There's warnings for everything in this car. One of the pros though is this is my first time ever driving an SUV for more than a minute. All the other SUVs that I've driven, which I've owned, the only SUV I ever driven was a Pathfinder, and I drove it from Maryland. Well, I drove it from, I think, Washington, D.C. I think Washington, D.C. is after Maryland, or before Maryland if you're driving to go to Maryland from here. I think you're going to hit Washington, D.C. before you hit Maryland. But anyway, my pastor friend, he drove us out there to help his daughter move. And then we drove back. And when we drove back, he wanted me to help him drive. And I'm thinking, I ain't never drove an SUV before. And this Pathfinder was a maximum size. It was almost as big as the Escalade. So the one we were using. So I drove that back from Washington, D.C. all the way back into Pennsylvania, and he fell asleep, believe it or not. He would wake up just in time to tell me to make sure everybody, the other two people, were very helpful in making sure I got on the right exits, because I'm a sucker for getting lost and having to turn around. And me, when I'm driving by myself, I love getting lost, because I always see something that I wouldn't have saw if I hadn't got lost. You know what I'm saying? But I love driving. I love being out here on the road. That's why I do this. You know, I told this young girl, she's a young teenage girl, and she asked me, how you get an Uber job? And I explained to her, you know, I says, are you old enough to get an Uber job? And she told me she was 17. She got a couple more years yet. I says, well, I explained to her why I do it and why I quit my job at Walmart and went back to doing this full time, you know. And a lot of people are shocked that you can actually, if you don't have a car, you can rent a car. And I told the young girl, I says, well, you know, and I told her and I told the guy, because I went out, me and him had the whole trip to talk about it. He lived out on a horse ranch in Lower Burrell. Lower Burrell is like, in New Kent are like intertwined. And, you know, I thought I knew Lower Burrell. So I went down there at dark, okay, dodging deer and everything in his neighborhood, to come down this long, black, skinny slope to find out this brother lives on a horse ranch, okay? They got horse ranches in Lower Burrell. Lower Burrell is not that big of a neighborhood, but they got horse ranches out there. Wow, okay. Yeah, I'm learning, okay? I get out there, this brother got a horse ranch. And he was a very nice gentleman, though. He showed me how, he knew exactly how to get. I took him all the way to Tarentum, to some place in Tarentum, which is all part of the whole New Kent neighborhood. But it was out of the way, and we went all the way out there to West Tarentum, and you know, I picked him up and dropped him off. Here's another pro before I forget. Uber sent me a thank you, and so did the company, because I picked up 2 or 3 priority people. And this is what happens when I drive outside of Pittsburgh and drive into some of these better neighborhoods and that. I had 2 priority trips. One of them I did get lost. Well, no, I had a problem finding the person when I got to the parking lot. And some of these places I get lost because the person's not standing outside. So I pass the place up and I got to back up or turn around. They're on the right and they're handicapped. Uber don't know they're handicapped. They're not going to walk across the street. And I'm like, no, stay over there. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go a mile down the street and turn around and come back so they can be on. So I can be on the right side of the street, you know. And I get that a lot. Especially when you're going up to Walmart or any of these stores out here. And I picked up a couple handicapped people, and I got thank yous from Uber and UPMC. They sent me an email and thanked me. That made me feel good. They said, congratulations, Mr. Cruz. We have a thank you note here from such and such. Thank you for picking up Mr. So-and-so and so-and-so and getting him to his destination safely. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus, because, you know, the way people drive around you, it ain't safe out here. The way deer are running across the road, it ain't safe out here, okay? Deer and coyotes, and I don't know, depending on how far out you are, it might be a black bear. We got black bears up here in Pennsylvania, okay? And the Cook Forest ain't too far from here, okay? But I just came back from Altoona, and I really want to move. I spent a day in Altoona, and I got half the money that I spent to get there back because I did trips while I was out there. And that's one of the things I love. That's a pro. For me, that might be a con for you, but that's a pro for me. I can work and go on vacation. I go on vacations while I'm working. Like if the bank account looks good, I did this last week, forgetting that I got these bills this week, but and thinking that I could just hurry up and catch them up because I got a week to catch them up. And so far, I'm still a couple $100 short. Actually, I'm $300 short. But I'm going to try to make that today and tomorrow. But I took these trips that I did. I went out to Altoona and I got out there in the early afternoon, and I drove from the early afternoon to the night. I made my hotel fee. I made that back. I put that back on in my account during the trips. Now, before I forget too, if you know why I cannot get an Uber card, why Uber is playing games with me about my Uber card. I want my Uber card, and they have not given it to me yet. And I saw something online. I went online and typed in there, why am I having trouble getting an Uber card? And they told me that if you have any what they call it, any in other words, if you have any bills that you might owe Uber or something like that, you cannot get an Uber card. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. They're able to go into my account, which is my personal OnePay account. It has nothing to do with Uber. They're able to go in there and take what they want out of there. Why can't they do that on an Uber card? Okay, and the only thing I'm going to do with the Uber card is transfer it to, one thing you can do with the Uber card too is you can take money off there and you can transfer it to any account you want. You can take the money off there and put the money in your we call that Pay app, Cash app, or something like that, and have money on your Cash app, and you can use any account you want to get money off your Cash app. So maybe that's why. But if you know something about that, please leave a comment and let me know. Should everybody be able to get an Uber card, Uber Pro card regardless? Or us people that are renting vehicles, we don't get the Uber Pro card because they want to make sure that there's no way that we can hide our money. Now my card, my OnePay card, is like, my collateral to keep me in the Uber business right now, so I don't know, but did I say, yeah, my OnePay card. Now my Uber Pro card, I don't know why I can't get it. Every time I go get it, they say, oh, well, we need more time to verify your information, and I never get it. They don't send me an email or nothing, okay? Another pro. Another con, that is. But I think the biggest pro out of all this is that I love being out on the road and having unlimited mileage. I can go anywhere in Pennsylvania I want. Now, I was told Pennsylvania from an Uber driver. I didn't check this out with Hertz or Uber. And depending on where I go and how many miles out of Pittsburgh I go, they always want me to take a picture of my photo so that they can verify who I am. But other than that, I can go anywhere I want to go. And like I told the young girl that was asking questions about Uber and the horse trainer that I was telling you about, he asked me a lot of questions. He was interested in becoming an Uber driver because, he doesn't hold down a regular job and he needs something on the side. And I told him, I says, I have to do 30 trips. This car is costing me, with the insurance and the tax, this car is costing me $433 and this is an SUV, this is a Nissan Rogue. It's costing me $433 every Tuesday. every Tuesday at midnight, which means actually Wednesday night. They take out 433 Wednesday morning at midnight. And I think, they changed that, because before it was like whatever time you pick the car up is the time that's what the guy at Hertz told me. But Uber has changed it to where they give you the whole day to get the funds in there to make sure they get their cut, But what I love is like everything between. Now, it used to be different. A lot of Uber guys out there that are driving for Uber, they don't know the policies have changed since I started driving. Like, Uber only wants their money. They don't, they want their money and they want 30 trips. If you don't cover everything that they want in 30 trips, okay, it's okay as long as you got their money in the bank, but you got to do 30 trips. That's something that might have changed. Also, you're able to go anywhere you want, and they still get their tax, which in a way I feel that's unfair, but they still get their cut for the trip itself. You buying an Uber vehicle to do their work in it, they're acting like this benefits you more than it benefits them. Okay? I disagree. But I gotta admit, it does benefit me, because instead of me having to call Uber, I'm my own Uber driver. Because a lot of places I go, I gotta call Uber. I can't get the bus out here where I live anymore. Okay, I gotta call Uber. So I'm my own Uber driver. I take myself where I gotta go. In between that 30 trips and after, this is my vehicle. I can go anywhere I want to go, visit anybody I want to visit. I went out to New Kensington to do Uber trips, and I seen my daughter was trying to get around town. I says, well, I'm trying to work, but I'm going to take you where you got to go. We spent some time together. I took her to where she got to go, and we spent some time together. And I've done my shopping. I went to wherever I had to go to do whatever, and I don't mind being out here on the road. Like, I love being on the road. Like, I told the young girl when I was, before I started doing Uber, I did this, when you give me a car, I'm going to do this anyway. Like, every day I needed to be on the road to blow off steam. Like, I'm the kind of guy that will leave work, and unless I'm totally tired and sleepy when I leave work, I'll go ride around for an hour before I go home. It's called blowing off steam. I'm the kind of guy that gets up in the middle of the night sometimes and just needs to take a drive and blow off some steam. I'm the kind of guy that on the weekends when he's off work, or whatever days I'm off work, I'll just get in the car and go ride around. I'll go visit my favorite neighborhood. Okay? That's how I found out about Altoona, because when I was doing Uber before, I only did it 2 days a week. Now, when they would give me 3 days off at work, like on holidays and that, I got the extra day off. So what I would do is I would do Uber trips, for the Christmas people or the Thanksgiving people or whatever, and then the Valentine's Day people, whatever. I would do trips if the weather was good and beautiful, and then on that third day I left that night and spent that third day that I had off, the actual day of the holiday or the day after the holiday or whatever, I would spend that in Altoona. I would get me a hotel and hang out in Altoona for a day, and I loved it. And that was me taking a vacation in my own state in a city that I like, But this summer, if I'm still good with my Uber account, I'm going to be heading down to Lancaster, which is probably about 6 hours away from here. And I'm going to be heading down to Lancaster, and if I enjoy my vacation, I'll probably move to Lancaster. If you know how to continue this Uber thing in your own state and move around in your own state with the Uber vehicle, do I have to take this vehicle back to the Hertz in North Hills and switch it? Do I have to start a whole new account? What do I have to do? Okay, so I got to get to work. Thank you for watching. More pros and cons about Uber. I don't know what's going to happen after we get down to 7 weeks, or up to 7 weeks, however that goes. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I have to just return this vehicle and start all over, which I should be able to start all over. Or, you know, maybe I think in 7 weeks, I'm assuming in 7 weeks, they're going to make me switch vehicles. That's what I'm assuming is going to happen. Correct me if I'm wrong. 7 weeks, they're going to have me switch vehicles. And if I have the money in the bank, it'll be just like I got this one. And in 7 weeks, and I believe that before the 7-week deadline gets here, I believe they're probably going to start sending me emails letting me know to reserve my vehicle. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm just assuming that's probably what's going to go down. So let me know if you think that's what's going to happen. But all you people that are working Uber, especially you people that are renting, like I am, let me know. Because I'm new at this. This is my 3rd week. I'm enjoying this. But I do realize, you know, because now I'm down to my biggest bill to pay. I'm realizing that you really got to be out here driving and getting the trips in. You got to get your trips in. Again, you're going to put gas in this vehicle at least twice a day. And to fill this SUV up, I think it comes to about $60 to fill it up. Usually I end up spending anywhere from $32 to $44 because I'm either down to a quarter of a tank or half a tank. So when I fill it up, so I spend like $32 if I'm a little bit over half a tank, and if I'm a quarter a tank, I end up spending like $44. I love this Nissan Rogue. I just walk in here. I'm 5'3.5", and as small as I am, I've had cars where my back, because I've had back trouble from working industrial jobs, but my back is all bent out of shape when I first get out of the car. I got to really stretch. I walk in right in and out of this SUV. I walk in here like walking into the living room. I do. I love that. I didn't know that riding an SUV was so enjoyable. I love the big mirrors. Got big mirrors all over the place in here. And this is not a large SUV. It's like the size of your average Jeep. But I love it. I love it. I don't know if I ever want to drive a regular 4-door sedan ever again. I mean, I'm spending more money, and they didn't give me a choice. I wanted the regular 4-door sedan. I wasn't expecting this, but I gotta admit, I love it. I love it. And unless I get into an electric car, I don't think they can sell me anything more expensive. But please be aware, you are going to eat. I mean, who wants to I don't want to pack sandwiches and I don't want to pack sandwiches and have them in the car. I don't want to do that. I don't want to pack sandwiches and have a cooler sitting in the car. I don't know. I may try that. I don't know. I'm a person, especially in the wintertime, I like hot food. I just left McDonald's and I had my 2 sausage burritos, you know, my hash brown and my coffee. I got my coffee right here, you know. And I'm probably going to eat again today somewhere. I ate at Arby's yesterday. Found out they added some new things to the menu. And so I did not eat the Reuben that I was supposed to eat, because that's my favorite thing to eat at Arby's is the Reuben. I ate the new steak bites with the mac and cheese and the potato cakes. Woo, my belly was sticking out when I got done, but man, I was feeling good. That was a good eating. Woo, man. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, people. Oh, I enjoyed that. But I don't go out here to enjoy. Now I have ate at home and went out, and I wasn't out like 8 hours, but I was out like maybe 4 to 6 hours. I ate at home and I didn't eat nothing until I got back home. Especially if I was out, went home, and then went back out, you know. And this Uber business is so large that it doesn't matter whether you drive early in the morning or whether you drive in the middle of the night or at night. It doesn't matter whether you drive Saturday or Sunday. There's plenty of money to be made. There's money to be made in small towns. There's money to be made in large towns. There's money to be made out in the country. And one more thing I want to say in closing. This is between you and me. Some of y'all know this because I've seen you mention it. This is just between us. I'm not going to share this. I'm not going to let Uber know that I know this. But if you are on the outskirts of the large city and you have to take people into the city or leave the city to go to the outskirts of the city, Uber will pay you more money. You're going to make the $17, $27, $32 trips. Okay. You know, and that's another reason why I love to go out of the area, because when I go out of the area, the trips that I get, they pay me more money. Now in the middle, because Pittsburgh has a lot of ghettos. If anybody has recently moved to Pittsburgh, you know that Pittsburgh has a lot of ghettos. And what Uber does, the inner city ghettos, they charge them less money. Okay? They charge the small towns less money. Uber will charge you based upon how excellent your town is. There are towns out here that are very small towns, but they're wealthy towns. Uber is charging them more money for trips. But you go down in Homewood, Pittsburgh here, you know, basically a black ghetto. Excuse my French, but I'm just being honest. A black ghetto. Braddock, black ghetto. Okay. They will charge people $5 trips, and you're taking this person for a 15-minute trip, and they're paying you $5. This is why, another reason why I get out of Pittsburgh, and I go to the outskirts of Pittsburgh that are more, I hate to say it, pro-white. And I get out of Pittsburgh and I go to the areas that are, more middle class to high class, and I make more money. People don't mind paying a lot of money for you to take them to Pittsburgh when they don't go to Pittsburgh that much. They don't mind paying you good money to go from Pittsburgh to their little uppity up neighborhood, because they're glad to get home and get out of crazy butt Pittsburgh. Okay? So there you have it. Uber is paying you more money. If you're out in the country or out in the suburbs, Uber will pay you more money out there because the trips are going to be longer. Okay? But Uber will pay you in the city. They will pay you these pocket change trips. And you can still make $20 an hour or $40 an hour, $20 to $40 an hour with the pocket change trips. But you can make $40 an hour faster, okay, or even make more than that, okay, if you're on the outskirts of the city. And I believe this is probably true in your top cities too. So there you have it. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Let me know where you stand in all this. Let me know if you have any advice for me. I'm making this because I want your advice. God bless you. Thank you for watching.